An influencer demanded a free wedding cake. So I sent her Styrofoam. The sound wasn't a slice. It wasn't the soft, yielding whisper of a sharp blade gliding through layers of moist vanilla sponge and raspberry coulis. It was a dull, hollow thunk. It sounded like someone hitting a bicycle helmet with a hammer. I was sitting in my living room, streaming the event on my phone via an anonymous account, and even through the tinny speakers of my iPhone, the sound was unmistakable. On the screen, the bride, Tiffany, known to her 200,000 followers as @Tiffany's Tips, stopped smiling. Her perfectly contoured face froze. Her hand, gripping the silver cake knife wrapped in a satin bow, trembled. She pushed harder. Thunk. The knife bent. The handle dug into her palm. The 5-tier, ivory-and-gold masterpiece standing before her didn't yield an inch. It sat there, defiant, impenetrable, and structurally sound enough to support a small vehicle. The 200 guests in the banquet hall went silent. The DJ cut the music. And then, a confused murmur started to ripple through the crowd like a wave of cold water. "Babe," the groom whispered, his voice caught by the microphone he was still holding. "Why isn't it cutting?" Tiffany looked at the knife. She looked at the cake. Then she looked directly into the camera of her hired videographer, her eyes widening with a dawning, horrific realization. I took a sip of my wine. It was a cheap Merlot, but in that moment, it tasted like the nectar of the gods. "Cut harder," I whispered to the screen. To understand why I fed a block of packing foam to a blushing bride, you have to understand the sheer, unmitigated audacity that walked into my life 3 weeks ago. I own the Gilded Crumb. It's not a hobby. It's not a side hustle. It is a high-end, boutique bakery that I built from the ground up with my own sweat, tears, and flour-coated hands. I studied in Paris. I wake up at 3 a.m. every single day to laminate dough. My rent is high, my ingredients are imported, and my time is expensive. My phone pinged on a Tuesday afternoon. It was an Instagram DM. @Tiffany's Tips, "Hey hun. Obsessed with your feed. Truly stunning work. I'm getting married on February 14th, Valentine's wedding, and I need a cake. I'm thinking 5 tiers, gold leaf, sugar flowers, the works. I want it to be the centerpiece of the room." I smiled. Business is business. I typed back. "Hi Tiffany. Thank you so much. I'd love to work with you. A 5-tier custom design with sugar work and gold leaf usually starts around $1,200 depending on the complexity. If you're interested, we can set up a tasting consultation." The response came 3 seconds later. The typing bubble bobbed furiously. She said, "Oh. LOL. I think you misunderstood. This is a collab opportunity. I have 200K followers. My engagement is insane right now. I'm going to tag you in every post, do a dedicated reel about the cake, and put you on my story highlights. The exposure alone is worth like $5,000. So I wouldn't be paying cash. We'd be trading value." I felt the heat rising in my neck. The E word. Exposure. The currency of the delusional. Landlords don't accept exposure. The electric company doesn't accept exposure. And my supplier certainly doesn't accept exposure in exchange for 50 pounds of Belgian chocolate. I took a breath. I tried to be professional. And said, "I appreciate the offer, Tiffany, but I don't work for exposure. My ingredients and labor have fixed costs. I can offer you a 10% discount as a courtesy, but I can't do a free wedding cake." I put the phone down and went back to glazing eclairs. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. 10 minutes later, my phone started buzzing. Not once. Not twice. It was vibrating across the stainless steel counter like an angry hornet. @Tiffany's Tips, are you joking? Do you know who I am? I am offering you a career-making moment and you're talking about fixed costs. You should be paying me to feature your cake. Another message popped up. Form here, you know what? Forget the discount. Do it for free, or I'm going to make sure nobody in this city buys a cupcake from you ever again. I stopped glazing. I wiped my hands on my apron. I picked up the phone and reread the message. I replied, "Are you threatening me?" She said, "I'm promising you. I have a very loyal following. If I tell them I found a rat in your bakery, or that your staff was rude to me, they'll believe me. I can tank your Yelp rating in an afternoon. I've done it before to brands that didn't want to play ball. So, let's try this again. Are you going to make my cake, or are you going to go out of business?" I stared at the screen. My vision went blurry with rage. I could feel my pulse hammering in my temples. This wasn't just a choosing beggar, this was extortion. This was a bully with a platform weaponizing her audience to steal from a small business owner. I looked around my shop. I looked at the framed certificate from Le Cordon Bleu. I looked at the photo of my grandmother who taught me how to bake. She wanted to play hardball? She wanted a centerpiece? Okay, I whispered. I'll give you a centerpiece. I typed back. You win. I can't afford a bad review. I've worked too hard for this shop. I'll do the cake. 5 tiers. Gold leaf. But I need creative control to make sure it photographs perfectly for your feed. She said, "Smart choice, babe. Make it look expensive. I want it delivered by 2 p.m. on the 14th, don't be late." I put the phone down. I wasn't going to bake a cake. I was going to construct a monument to her vanity. And I was going to make sure it was the most durable object at her entire wedding. I went to Home Depot that night. I walked past the kitchen section and went straight to the building materials aisle. I bought 3 sheets of Owens Corning foamular rigid insulation. It's pink. It's dense. It's designed to withstand the elements. I also bought a tube of heavy-duty construction adhesive. I brought the materials back to the bakery after hours. I locked the door and pulled the shades. This was a Black Ops baking mission. I cut the foam into rounds. 14 inches, 12 inches, 10 inches, 8 inches, 6 inches. I stacked them up. I glued them together with enough adhesive to bond a tile to a space shuttle. Then came the frosting. I didn't use buttercream. Buttercream melts. Buttercream is soft. I used fondant, commercial grade, rock-hard fondant. But underneath the fondant, I didn't use ganache. I used a thin layer of drywall joint compound. It smoothed out the foam perfectly and dried to a concrete-like finish. I draped the fondant over the hardened spackle. I smoothed it out. It looked flawless. It was seamless. Then, I decorated. I spent 3 days making sugar flowers. Real sugar flowers. I wanted this thing to look breathtaking. I wanted her to look at it and weep with joy before her humiliation. I dusted them with edible gold luster dust. I applied 24-karat gold leaf to the edges of the tiers. It was beautiful. It was the best wedding cake I had ever made. And it was completely, utterly indestructible. But I needed a fail-safe. I needed to make sure she couldn't just lift a tier off and realize it was light as a feather. I drilled a hole through the center of the foam stack. I inserted a steel dowel rod. Then, I weighted the bottom tier. I cut a hollow chamber in the base and filled it with bag of lead fishing weights I bought at a tackle shop. The cake weighed 40 pounds. It felt dense. It felt moist. It felt expensive. Now, for the message. I debated where to put it. If I put it inside, she might never find it if she just gave up cutting. I needed it to be discovered during the autopsy of the event. I decided to create a slice illusion. On the bottom tier, in the back, I cut out a small wedge of the foam. I filled that tiny wedge with real cake. Just one bite. But behind that bite, glued to the foam wall, was a small, laminated card. If she managed to cut the fake slice, which was unlikely given she'd start at the bottom tier, front or middle tier, she'd find it. But if she tried to cut anywhere else? Bonk. Wait, no. That was too risky. If she found the real slice, she might eat it and think the whole thing was real, then serve foam to a guest. That would be a choking hazard. I couldn't hurt people. I just wanted to hurt her ego. Change of plan. No real cake. 0. The note went into the box. I taped a heavy, cream-colored envelope to the bottom of the cake board. She wouldn't see it until they tried to lift the cake away to fix it or take it to the kitchen to be cut by staff. The note read: Invoice number 001. Client, Tiffany Glitz. Item, 5-tier prop cake. Price, 1 million exposure bucks. Payment received. Note, you said you wanted a centerpiece for the photos. You didn't say you wanted to eat. Real cake costs money. Enjoy the exposure. The Gilded Crumb. Saturday morning arrived. Valentine's Day. I loaded the cake into my van. I secured it with bungee cords. I drove to the venue, a sprawling estate that screamed new money. There were peacocks roaming the lawn. I carried the cake in. It was heavy. The wedding planner, a frantic woman with a headset, pointed me to the cake table. It was right in the center of the dance floor, under a spotlight. Perfect. It looks amazing, the planner said, breathless. She's going to die when she sees it. I hope so, I smiled sweetly. Make sure nobody touches it until the cutting ceremony. The fondant is delicate. Of course, she said. I set it down. I took a photo for my own records and legal defense. Then I walked out. I didn't stay. I didn't want to be in the splash zone. I drove home, poured that glass of wine, and found the live stream link on her Instagram bio. The ceremony was over. The reception was in full swing. It was everything you'd expect. Too many speeches, too much dry ice, and everyone filming everything on their phones. At 8:30 p.m., the DJ announced the cutting of the cake. All right everyone, the DJ boomed. Give it up for Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds. It's time for the sweetest moment of the night. Tiffany sashayed onto the floor. She looked stunning, I'll give her that. She was wearing a second dress now, something sparkly and tight. She grabbed the groom's hand. They walked to the cake. She posed. She spent 2 full minutes just posing with the knife, making sure the lighting was right, checking the monitor of the videographer. Get the gold leaf, I heard her say. Make sure it sparkles. She was preening. She was basking in the envy of her followers. She looked at the cake like it was a trophy. Okay, ready, she beamed at the crowd. 3, 2, 1. She brought the knife down. And we're back to the thunk. The knife hit the fondant-covered high-density foam. It didn't slide. It bounced. Tiffany frowned. She laughed nervously. Oops. The fondant is thick. She tried again. She used 2 hands this time. She leaned her body weight into it. Thunk. The cake slid 3 inches across the table, screeching against the tablecloth. What the hell? The groom muttered. It's hard, Tiffany complained. Why is it so hard? Let me try, the groom said. He was a gym rat. He grabbed the knife. He stabbed at the cake, trying to pierce the side. Bang! The knife tip skidded off the hardened spackle and gouged a line in the fondant, revealing the pink foam underneath. The room was deadly silent. The groom touched the pink gash. He poked it. Tiff, he said, his voice amplified by the hot mic, it's styrofoam. What? Tiffany shrieked. It's foam. It's fake. It's a prop. Tiffany grabbed the knife back. She started hacking at the cake like a woman possessed. Whack. 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 Chunks of fondant flew off. Pink insulation foam rained down on the white tablecloth. There was no sponge. There was no filling. Just Owen's Corning pink foam. No! Tiffany screamed. It was a primal, banshee wail. No! Where is the cake? The guests started whispering. Phones were raised. They weren't filming the glamour anymore. They were filming the meltdown. She didn't make the cake. Tiffany yelled at the planner, who had run over. She sent me a fake. She ruined my wedding. Is there sheet cake in the kitchen? The planner asked frantically. I didn't order sheet cake. Tiffany screamed. This was supposed to be the cake. I'm going to kill her. The groom looked defeated. He dropped the knife. I watched the comments on the live stream. User 1, OMG, is that foam? User 2, LMO, she got scammed. User 3, wait, didn't she say this baker was the best in town? User 4, hashtag foam wedding. I closed the stream. I didn't need to see any more. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Tiffany. I answered. Hello, the gilded crumb, I said cheerfully. UB*TCH, she screamed. She was crying. Hysterical. You sent me foam. You humiliated me. I am going to sue you for every penny you have. Tiffany, I said calmly. You requested a centerpiece for a photo shoot. You specifically said you wanted to pay with exposure for the photos. I provided you with a photo-ready prop. Props are made of foam. If you wanted a catering service, which involves edible food, you needed to pay the invoice I sent you. Catering costs money. Props cost exposure. I told you I wanted a wedding cake. And I told you a wedding cake costs $1,200, I countered. You declined that contract. You accepted the collab for exposure. I upheld my end of the collaboration. The cake looked beautiful in the photos, didn't it? My guests are hungry, she wailed. We have no dessert. I suggest you order some pizzas, I said. Or maybe eat the exposure. I hear it's very filling. I'm going to ruin you, she hissed. I'm going to post this everywhere. Please do, I said. Post the photos of the foam. Explain to your followers why a professional baker sent you a prop. Tell them you refuse to pay. See whose side they take. I hung up. She tried. Oh, she tried. She posted a tearful video the next day, accusing me of fraud. She showed the pink foam. She called me a scammer. But the internet is a funny place. It hates influencers more than it hates scammers. I posted my own video. I didn't say a word. I just showed the screenshots of our DM conversation. Her, do it for free or I'll ruin your business. Me, I can't afford that. Her, I'll pay you an exposure. Then I showed the video of me building the cake. The care I put into the flowers. The gold leaf. I captioned it, you get what you pay for. Hashtag pay creatives. The backlash against her was nuclear. Her comments section was flooded with people mocking her. Imagine being so cheap you starve your wedding guests. Team Baker. The cake looked good though, LOL. She lost 10,000 followers in a week. Brands she worked with started dropping her because they didn't want to be associated with a choosing beggar. As for me, I got about 5,000 new followers. And I got orders. Paying orders. People loved the pettiness. They loved the craftsmanship. I had a bride call me yesterday. I want a wedding cake, she said. A real one. I promised to pay with a credit card, not exposure. That sounds delicious, I said. I still have the invoice I wrote for Tiffany. I framed it in the shop. It reminds me that my time has value. Tiffany never sued. Her lawyer probably told her that breach of contract is hard to prove when the contract was extortion for free labor. She's still online, shilling diet teas and fast fashion, but she blocked me. Every now and then, I walk past the insulation aisle at Home Depot and I chuckle. Pink foam, $40. Fondant, $50. The look on her face when the knife bounced, priceless. So, tell me. Am I the monster for ruining an influencer's wedding with a fake cake, or did she just get her just desserts?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.